So we'll start by chanting the first verse, because that is more like a prayer verse. So let's always start with the first verse. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samavetaayuyutsavaha mamakah pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. So the first chapter, as we know, started with Dhritarashtra asking a question: what is happening between my people and the Pandavas? He asked this to his minister Sanjaya, who was reporting the war to him. Then it started with Sanjaya reporting about Duryodhana approaching Drona and sort of trying to provoke him by making him see people at the opposite end who were not who were probably not so friendly with him, we can say. And then Duryodhana sort of assessed the strengths of both the opposition as well as his own army. So he described the various warriors in both the sides of the camp, probably just to understand the strength and weaknesses of each of them. And the last verse we saw was where we'll read that verse. Tasya sanjanayan harsham kuru vriddha pritamaha simhanadam vinadauschaiha shankham dadmau pratapavan. So as Duryodhana was talking to Drona, Bhishma decided to get into the act. So he started blowing his conch very loudly to probably signal or just to bring everyone's attention to the war. So just for everybody, it was a time to get prepared for the war. So he blew his conch and let out a big roar like a lion. And he also wanted to make Duryodhana happy by showing him his support. So that is where we had seen last class. Now let us move on to the next verse. Tatha shankhascha bheryascha panavan ka gomukha sahasaivabhya hanyanta shabdastu mulo bhavata. Once Bhishma blew his conch, then everybody else started blowing various sounds were produced with different kinds of instruments. They have described some of the instruments: conches, kettle drums, tabors, trumpets, cow horns. Some of the instruments that were used to make sound, and this sound came in such a loud manner, even the earth started shaking. I mean, it was such a glorious sound that was produced by all the people around. So once the first sound was created by Bhishma, others followed suit from both sides. So there was a big kind of a noise there from various instruments that people were using. So this is just to give an idea of how the war starts, probably. The next verse. Tataschaitahair yukte mahati syandane stitau madava pandavaschaiva divyau shankau pradhadmatuhu. Once this happened, then Krishna and Arjuna, seated in their chariots, they also blew their conches. So here Sanjaya refers to Krishna as Madhava. and Arjuna as Pandava. So Madhavascha and Pandava, both of them blew their conches. So here Madhava is basically another name of Krishna, which means the Lord of Wealth. So probably Sanjaya just wanted to convey to Dhritarashtra that the Lord is on the other side. So his intention of, so in each of the verses you will see different ways of referring to Lord Krishna. So probably just to give that idea that the Lord is there in different forms. So here he refers to him as Madhava, the Lord of Wealth. So then we move on to the next verse. Now the next few verses, Vyasa is just going to describe the various people blowing their conches, and each of them has got a name. So even the conches, everybody who blew the conches themselves had names, just to show the importance of the not only the people but even the instruments like the conches, the bows, all of them had names. So they were also powerful by themselves. So they had a role to play. So the next few verses, just to probably Vyasa wants to create that impression that the war started, the war was about to start, and it was building up, and up to that point where Arjuna saw the opposite army, looked at all his people, and then he decided he will not fight, and that's when Gita happened. So just to give a build up to that, Vyasa just wants to bring it to that point by describing various things which happened before that. So next verse is Panchajanyam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjayah Poundram Dadmau Mahashankham Bhima Karma Vrikodaraha. So Panchajanya is the conch of Lord Krishna, which he blew, and Arjuna's conch was called as Devadatta. Each of these names, like Devadatta, maybe it was a gift from the gods to Arjuna, so his conch was named as Devadatta. And then Bhima is a man of very fierce deeds. He always used to take the biggest challenges whenever the opportunity came. So that is why he was known as a man of fierce deeds. And he is described as Vrikodara. Vrikodara basically means one with a wolf's stomach. So normally wolves are always hungry, and in spite of eating, their stomachs are flat. So Bhima is compared, his stomach is like a wolf's. He was always hungry. He always used to love to eat and also to cook. In fact, during the Agyatavasa, when they were in incognito in the kingdom of Virat, he worked as a cook in the palace because he loved to cook. In fact, we have this two types of cooking, they say, Bhima Paka and Nala Paka. So Bhima could cook for an army. Any number of people, he was ready to cook. Nala Paka is another king called Nala, who was also a very good cook, but he could cook only for a limited number of people. So normally the type of cooking people say as Bhima Paka means a person who can cook for large number of people. Nala Paka is for person who can cook for both were excellent cooks, but the numbers that they could cook for was different. So Bhima, he was a huge person and he had a huge conch also called Poundram. So Bhima blew his conch and with all his strength. So you can imagine the kind of sound that would have emanated from that conch. The conch, as by himself, he was very huge. His conch was also equally big. So you can imagine the kind of sound that he could produce. So these were the three people who blew their conches. Then moving on, next, Ananta Vijayam Raja Kuntiputro Yudhishtharaha Nakulah Sahadevascha Sughoshamani Pushpakau. Again, the next set of people who blew their conches, starting with Yudhishthira. Now Sanjaya cleverly addresses Yudhishthira as King Yudhishthira, just to let Dhritarashtra know that though at this moment Duryodhana is the king, but the actual king is Yudhishthira. So Sanjay also knew who is right and who is wrong. So he just wanted to tell Dhritarashtra that Yudhishthira is the actual king. So he addresses him as Raja Yudhishthira. And Yudhishthira's conch was called Ananta Vijaya. So Ananta Vijaya means always victorious. Many victories. It is innumerable victories. So that is the name of Yudhishthira's conch. And Nakula and Sahadeva, Nakula's conch was called as Sughosha, conch with a very nice sound. And Sahadeva's conch was called Mani Pushpaka, a conch which was adorned with many gems. So this was the conches which were blown by these three people. The next verse, Kashyascha Parameshvasaha Shikhandi cha Maharatha Drishtadyumno Viratascha Satyakischa Parajitaha. Again, he refers to a few people who blew their conches. The king of Kashi, who was supposed to be an expert archer. Shikhandi, again he was the son, or he was neither a man nor a woman, as we know. So he was born to kill Bhishma. That you might have heard of the story earlier where Bhishma had actually kidnapped, so to say, the three Kashi princesses, Amba, Ambika and Ambalika, and took them to Hastinapura. He wanted them to get married to the king of Hastinapura, but Amba refused to get married because she already wanted to marry somebody else. So, but she could not. So Bhishma let her go, but she could not. The one who wanted to marry her also refused because she was kidnapped by Bhishma. So finally she committed suicide, and she said, in the next birth I will come back and be the cause of Bhishma's death. I mean, this is the story in general. So she was born as Shikhandi. So Shikhandi was born in Drupada's house, and the purpose of Shikhandi was to again kill Bhishma. So by Shikhandi himself was a great warrior. So he is also called as a Maharatha. So Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, of course, again was born to kill Drona. Virata, another king in whose kingdom they stayed, Pandavas stayed in their last 1 year of incognito. And Satyaki, again we have come across this name earlier, was a close associate of Lord Krishna. And again continuing, Drupado Draupadeshyascha yascha sarvashah prithvipate saubhadrascha mahabahuhu shankanda dmuhu prithak prithaka. The others who were there were King Drupada himself, the sons of Draupadi and Subhadra. All of them also blew their conches. So again, just to give an introduction to all the people once again who are all there assembled to fight this war. So Vyasa again just gives the importance of all these people in the war. The next verse, Saghoshodhardharashtranam hridayani vyadarayata nabhascha prithivim chaiva tumulo vyanunadayan. The sound made by all these conches and blown by all these great warriors from the Pandava side were so loud and piercing that they pierced the hearts of the opposite camp. So it rattled, so to say, the people in Duryodhana's camp, the Kaurava camp, because the kind of conches and the other instruments they had, the noise was so huge that these people, though they had a bigger army, this sound that was created by the Pandava army people just shook them up, so to say. They were all rattled by the huge sound emanating from the Pandava side. Atha vyavasthita drishtva dhradharashtan kapidhvajah pravritre shastra sampate dhanurudmaya pandava rishikesham tada vakya midamaha mahipate. So it was all set for the war to begin. So everything was ready. People had sounded their conches, signaling the start of the war. And Arjuna, here Sanjaya addresses Arjuna as Kapidhvajaha. Kapidhvajaha means the one who has a monkey on his flag. Now here again Hanuman, as you know, was on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. So this happened when the Pandavas were in exile. They were moving in the forest, and Draupadi came across this lovely flower called Saugandhika. So she wanted to get some more of that. So Bhima agreed to go and find those flowers. And on the way, he met this Vanara who refused to give him way. So Bhima thought he is so strong, he can just brush him aside. But the Vanara said, I am too old, so just lift my tail and put it aside so that you can pass through. But Bhima, with all his strength, could not even move the tail an inch. Then only he realized that it is none other than Hanuman, who also is a Vayuputra. So Bhima's elder brother, so to say. So then Hanuman blessed Bhima and also promised him he would be present in the war as in the flag of Arjuna. So that is how in Arjuna's flag, Hanuman was present during the war. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna was reciting, other than Arjuna, of course, Dhritarashtra and Sanjaya also listened to it, and Hanuman listened to it also, sitting in the flag of the chariot. So, other than Arjuna, these three people are also able to listen to the teaching of Bhagavad Gita. But of course, Hanuman was already a jnani. It was only a revision for him. So he already knew what Krishna is going to say, but still he enjoyed listening to the Bhagavad Gita. Sanjaya and Dhritarashtra were not prepared. They were not prepared to listen to it because their minds were in something else. So this is what we should learn. So unless we are prepared, even if we get the best, we may not be able to use it. So the teaching of the Bhagavad Gita, though it was available to all these people, only Arjuna was able to listen to it in the right way and use it. So in fact, they say Hanuman was present in the war, and he said he was bored with the war because he said after seeing Rama and Ravana fight, this is nothing. So this is just a small time war. Like probably if we take an analogy from the Cricket World Cup, probably people who have watched the 1983 World Cup would have said 2011 World Cup, oh, those days, the West Indies team used to be so strong, we could beat them. This is nothing. So, and once in a while you wake up, like Hanuman used to wake up once in a while and watch great warriors like Bhishma or Drona fighting. The rest of the time he went back to sleep. That's what they say. So, now addressing him as Kapidwaja. Now Arjuna was ready. So he lifted his bow and said these words to Krishna. So that is what he is going to say now. Arjuna uvacha senor madhye ratham sthapayam mechuta yava detani rikshayham yodha kaman vasisthana kairmaya sah yodhavya asmin ranasamudyame. So now the stage is all set for the main event. So Arjuna, with all these sounds reverberating, he was ready. He was waiting for this moment for years, because all the Kauravas had made life miserable for the Pandavas, as you know, and finally they had no choice but to wage a war to get their rights. It's not even justice. It was rightfully theirs, but unfortunately they had to wage a war to get what is their rightful, what they deserved rightfully. So Arjuna was waiting for this opportunity, and he says, place my chariot between the two armies. And he tells, my chariot. So at that time he was so ready for war that he forgot about Krishna and he saw Krishna only as a charioteer. So like somebody tells your driver, hey, take my car and keep it there. So at that moment Arjuna's mindset was that, okay, place the chariot between the two armies. I want to survey the two armies. I want to see who all I am going to fight. So place the chariot. I wish to see all those who are gathered here with the intention of fighting. And that is the reason why he wanted to survey both the armies standing in in between the two armies. So that was the command given by Arjuna to Sri Krishna. Next is Sanjay Uvacha Eva Mukto Hrishikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senayor Ubhayor Madhye Sthapayitva Rathottama. So, as commanded by Arjuna, who is also referred to as Gudakesha, another name, Rishikesha, which is another name of Lord Krishna. Rishikesha means the one who has conquered his senses. So, as ordered by Arjuna, Krishna took the chariot and placed it in the middle of the two armies. Where did he place? The next verse, Bhishma Drona Pramukhatah Sarvesham cha Mahikshitam Uvacha Partha Paschaitan Samaventan Kuruniti. So he placed the chariot in front of the prominent figures in the opposition camp. Bhima, Drona, and all the big warriors on the Kaurava side. So he placed in such a way that Arjuna could see all of them clearly. And the first word, in fact, in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says here, look at the Kauravas who are gathered here. Though the actual teaching starts somewhere in the second chapter, the first word so far uttered by Krishna is, after placing the chariot, he tells, look at the Kauravas who have gathered here. So after that, Krishna is not going to say anything. Only after Arjuna vents out all his sorrow, then only Krishna starts speaking later. But here, though it is not said Bhagavan Uvacha, Krishna actually spoke just a line here saying that look at the people in the Kaurava army. Tatra pashyata sthitan parthaha pitrinath pitamahan acharyan matulan bhratrir putran pautran sakhim sthata swashuran suhradaschaiva sena yor bhayorapi. So there Arjuna saw all his elders, his most revered guru Dronacharya, his favorite grand uncle Bhishma, the other teachers, his cousins, his friends, their sons, grandsons, all of them assembled. Not only that, even the other people who were not directly connected to the Kauravas, who were supporting them, they were also well-wishers of Pandavas. So whoever he could see in front, they were all in some way or other either related or connected to Arjuna. So the moment he saw that, he could see only a sea of faces which were all dear to him, most of them. And looking at that, Tan samiksha cha kaunteyah सर्वान् बन्धूनवस्थितान् कृपया परयाविष्टो विषीदन्निदमब्रवीत्. Seeing all this people in front of him, Arjuna was suddenly seized by sorrow. He was seized with deep compassion. He identified all these people who were going to fight with them, and he saw the destruction of all these people, and suddenly a wave of sorrow came upon him, and in the sorrowful tone he addressed Krishna. So this is the start. So we have come up to the point, with all this was a background to come up to this point, where till that moment Arjuna was all set for war. Years of suffering at the hands of Duryodhana, they were all ready to take their rights by fighting the war. They were all waiting for this day. He had done a lot of penance. He had even gone to heaven to get the blessings of the gods. They say Arjuna had gone there. He got all the celestial weapons just to use those in this war. So everything, like we all prepare for something. We take all kinds of, we do all kinds of things to prepare for the D-Day, so to say. And he was all set, and then he saw all these people in front of him. He was swept by a wave of sorrow and compassion, and this sets the stage for the next few verses, where Arjuna expresses his desire not to fight, and he gives a lot of reasons why he doesn't want to fight. And Krishna listens to him, giving him a patient hearing till Arjuna surrenders to him and says, okay, now I leave it to you, please guide me. So till that point Arjuna expressed, so that is what we will be seeing in the next class, what all reasons Arjuna comes up with, what all excuses he comes up with not to fight. So that, and then getting into the actual teaching once Krishna listens to him carefully. So first thing is, Krishna never interrupted him when he was expressing all these things. He just allowed him to pour out all his sorrows and all the reasons. He gave out various reasons for not wanting to fight. So Krishna listened to him very carefully before he started speaking. So that is what we are going to see in the next class. So we'll conclude with this.